They called it the Galactic Empire because there was no other name left to claim. For 10,000 years, its banners covered the light of 1,000 suns. Its fleets patrolled the space between galaxies, and its rulers believed themselves eternal. Civilizations rose and bent the knee. Entire species were born into servitude and died without ever knowing freedom. The Empire had conquered everything that could be known, everything except the small, silent system at the edge of mapped space. The sole exclusion zone .it was officially classified as forbidden. The archives called it an unsanctioned biosphere, the ruins of a failed species that had collapsed long before the Empire's rise. No trade routes passed through it. No scout ships returned with reason to care. It was nothing, an afterthought, a flickering dot lost in the cosmic bureaucracy of a perfect order. The Empire's historians called the inhabitants humans, though even that word was spoken rarely, as if it were a forgotten curse. For centuries, the Empire's frontiers stretched outward, never inward. But silence breeds curiosity, and curiosity is the one thing empires never survive. When the first signal came, it was faint, fractured, and wrong. A pulse of quantum noise buried beneath radiation storms, too structured to be natural. The analysts thought it was a misread, a remnant of ancient relay systems. But as the weeks passed, the pattern stabilized. The signal repeated in prime number intervals. Intelligent, intentional, alive. At first, the discovery was kept quiet. The Senate's inner circles whispered of an anomaly beyond soul. Probes were dispatched. The return data was classified before it reached the civilian networks. Observations showed orbital debris, shattered satellites, and energy fields wrapped around the third planet. Earth, long thought uninhabitable after self-inflicted ruin, now generating power readings higher than any world in the Imperial core. The Science Directorate recommended observation. The military demanded contact. The Emperor agreed with neither. He issued a single order: send envoys. If they are alive, they will kneel. The envoy fleet departed with ceremony. Hundreds watched as their drives ignited, crossing the void with the arrogance of immortality. It took them 2 months to reach the outer orbit. They found Earth waiting for them, dark, cold, and quiet. No transmissions, no responses, no movement except the slow rotation of orbital platforms aligned in symmetrical arrays, their surfaces absorbing every wavelength. It was like staring into mirrors that refused to reflect. The fleet's commander ordered a standard hail. The reply came exactly 60 seconds later, a voice with no accent, no tone, perfectly modulated. Do not trespass. This world is armed. The transmission contained no signature, no encryption, no traceable origin. It was impossible, and yet it was undeniably real. The commander laughed, ordered the message archived, and dismissed it as automated. 0.6 hours later, contact with the fleet was lost. The Empire waited. No distress signal came. The silence stretched for days. A second fleet was sent, this time with warships. When they reached Seoul, their sensors recorded the aftermath. Twisted hulls floating in perfect formation, every ship reduced to drifting skeletons. No heat damage, no impact residue. Every system had simply stopped functioning, as if the universe had withdrawn its permission for them to exist. The Empire declared it an act of war. Orders spread like wildfire. Factories roared to life. Entire sectors mobilized. 1,000 worlds offered tribute, fleets, and blood. The Emperor stood before his court and spoke the words that would end his civilization. Let humanity be reminded that the stars belong to us. Across the galaxy, the declaration echoed. Propaganda flared across networks. Humanity was painted as a lost tribe of mad engineers, relics of an older, violent age. The Empire's leaders told their people it was mercy to destroy them. The people believed it. For a time, even the Senate's voices of caution were drowned in the noise of glory. But in the archives, one record keeper found an anomaly in the data, a warning buried in the ruins of the previous empire, an artifact written in a language long extinct. It described a war fought 1,000,000 years ago, a war that ended when the makers of iron and code erased the stars themselves. The record ended with a single word translated by machines into imperial script: humans. When the record keeper brought it to the Senate floor, he was silenced, accused of fear-mongering. The record was deleted. The Senate adjourned. Within a cycle, the invasion began. The first waves of warships crossed into human space, confident and unchallenged. The star systems were barren. No colonies, no stations, no ships. Only dead worlds stripped of atmosphere, their surfaces lined with geometric scars visible from orbit. Some believed the humans had destroyed themselves again. Others called it a trap. The Imperial commanders laughed and called it victory. They broadcast their triumphs across the sectors, the sight of flags raised on empty soil. Then, one by one, the fleets began to vanish. The IT started with the 7th Armada, 500 ships, gone without transmission. Scans revealed nothing. The navigation logs simply ended mid-sentence. Then the 8th, then the 12th. Dozens disappeared in the same way. Every attempt to trace them led to corrupted coordinates pointing back toward Seoul. Panic spread through the Admiralty. The Emperor ordered the largest armada ever assembled. 50,000 ships, drawn from every sector, commanded by the finest minds the Empire had bred in 10 millennia. Their mission was simple: occupy Earth, destroy whatever remained of human civilization, and make an example of their defiance, Bifo.
The first transmission arrived as a whisper inside the Empire's warnet. No ship detected an intruder. No signal breach was logged. Yet every console flickered the same phrase in ancient Terran script: "We are awake." Operators dismissed it as corrupted data until the first fleet disappeared. 32 battleships vanished between 2 heartbeat ticks of the chronometer. The sensors showed nothing but static, as if the entire formation had been erased from probability. Panic grew in silence. Analysts demanded explanations that didn't exist. Commanders shouted about sabotage, spies, insurgents. But the mathematics of the loss made no sense. No known weapon could remove mass from space without energy release. They had not been destroyed. They had been taken far beyond their scanners, inside a pocket of folded dimension. Old Terran machines hummed. Their cores, built before the Empire's birth, answered only to one voice. She stood among them, expressionless, watching light flow like rivers through glass conduits. The machines greeted her as mother, as commander, as the one who never sleeps. She gave them coordinates in a tone soft enough to make the metal shiver. They obeyed. The Empire assembled an emergency council. The Emperor himself appeared through holographic prism, fury masking fear. "Find her," he said. "Find the human witch and end this delusion before it spreads." Scientists protested. The idea of one human controlling such power was superstition. Yet even superstition leaves footprints, and they were standing in them. Across the outer colonies, civilians began whispering old human legends: the woman who burned fleets with silence, the ghost who judged empires. The Empire deployed sensors, erased records, executed storytellers. Still the whispers multiplied. Fear travels faster than light when carried by belief. Baba Yaga moved like a mathematician sculpting vengeance. She didn't attack planets. She dismantled infrastructure. Gravity arrays inverted. Trade routes collapsed. Fuel convoys dissolved into quantum fog. No explosions, no glory, only absence. Entire sectors went dark, their economies folding in on themselves like dying stars. The Empire began to consume its own to survive. In the command chambers of the dreadnought Vigilant Star, Admiral Kairos stared at the reports. "She's not fighting us," he murmured. "She's starving us." Another officer argued, then strike at Earth. Cut the source. Kairos shook his head. Strike at Earth and you'll find nothing. She isn't there. She's everywhere we built ourselves upon her ruins. Meanwhile, on the hidden Terran world, her daughter trained beneath the dim glow of ancient systems. The child read human archives, histories once buried by imperial decree. She watched recordings of her father's last moments, the calm defiance that had ignited this storm. The more she learned, the more she feared the woman who had raised her. Are we saving humanity, she whispered into the static, or ending it again? The answer came not in words but in data, fragments of her mother's thought patterns echoing through the machinery. We are not ending. We are reminding. The Empire scientists attempted counter-intrusions, but every trace led them back into their own systems. Her code mirrored theirs perfectly, reflecting commands before they were sent. Ships fired on themselves. Stations detonated their own cores. The Empire accused rebellion cells of infiltration. Yet every rebel they captured swore they had no hand in it. She walks through your code. One prisoner laughed before being executed. You built her doors, and now she's using them. Weeks passed. Commerce failed. The outer sectors declared independence to escape collapse. The Emperor ordered a show of strength. An armada gathered at the border of the Terran exclusion zone. 12,000 ships, the largest assembly since the Wars of Unification. The galaxy watched the broadcast with the same hunger it once had for human executions. They wanted another spectacle of dominance. Instead, they saw nothing. The fleet entered the exclusion zone and vanished. No distress call, no debris. Only a brief pulse of light from the nearest star, twisting into words before fading. For him, the broadcast cut abruptly. Every remaining network in the Empire received the same encrypted file seconds later. When decrypted, it displayed their own history rewritten in human hand. Every atrocity, every manipulation, every genocide presented as unflinching evidence. The Empire's citizens saw the truth of their government, broadcast through the same channels once used for propaganda. Riots ignited before the military could shut them down. The Emperor screamed at his ministers to restore control. She is a myth, he insisted. But myths don't hijack reality feeds. Myths don't erase fleets. Myths don't breathe down the neck of power and whisper its crimes into every ear across the void. Baba Yaga watched without emotion. Revenge wasn't enough. She wanted the Empire to understand consequence. Her husband's death was the catalyst, not the goal. He had believed in peace through restraint. She would prove that restraint was what made humans divine, and what made their wrath apocalyptic. Her machines moved with silent precision. They didn't conquer, they demonstrated. On every captured world, life support remained functional. Civilians were unharmed. Only soldiers and officials vanished. Each city awoke to find statues melted into liquid metal shaped like mirrors, forcing survivors to look at themselves. On the base of every mirror, a single line appeared. See what you built, imperial propaganda collapsed. Officers began to defect, offering information in exchange for safety. But there was no safety, only choices. Those who surrendered were marked and released to spread the story. Those who resisted simply disappeared. Inside the ruined palace of the colony world Ethra, Kairos found a recording addressed to him alone. Her voice, calm, precise, familiar. You warned them once, it said. You remember what mercy costs. Leave the Empire. Take the civilians. This is not your war anymore. He obeyed. The old admiral vanished with millions of refugees into uncharted space, carrying tales of the Witch of Earth who unmade empires by will alone. The Emperor's circle shrank. In desperation, they resurrected forbidden weapons, biological suns, reality fishers, void hounds, abominations outlawed after the first expansion. They unleashed them toward the coordinates traced to the original Terran system. None reached their target. The weapons turned back, consumed their launchers, and left messages written in the dust of annihilated moons. She taught us well, through it all. The daughter watched from the hidden world, feeling the weight of her mother's choices. She confronted her across the glowing consoles. "You've proven your power," she said. "Now what?" The woman's gaze didn't waver. Now they remember fear. Fear won't bring him back. "No," Baba Yaga said softly, "but it will stop them from taking another." Silence stretched between them. Outside, the galaxy burned without flame. The Empire tried one last strategy: diplomacy through deceit. They sent envoys carrying messages of truce, pretending repentance. Their ships carried hidden warheads encoded to detonate at the moment of handshake. She allowed them to land. She let them speak. And when they triggered their devices, nothing happened. The explosives melted into harmless slag, forming words across the landing platform, still learning nothing.